You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristodoulou.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Haristodoulou, and today we are talking the top 5 offenses in the NFC. This is a pre-recorded video I'm putting together for you guys as I am currently away, so just keep that in mind. Obviously, we're only a week through free agency, but a lot of the big deals have kind of been put together. There are still some big free agents left out there to sign with some teams, but aside from a player or like 2, maybe 3 or 4, I don't think anything would really sway these rankings too much. So I decided to go ahead and jump the gun and put these videos together for you guys while I'm away. Now, we'll go 5 through 1, starting at the bottom. Make sure, if you're a fan of any of the teams on this list, you hit that like button. And if not, you want to see your team on here and you're wondering why they're not, comment down below. Let me know why you think they should be in the top 5. Starting with number 5, I begin with the Green Bay Packers. Probably a little bit more of a controversial one because, you know, they just lost Davante Adams. Is this really still a top 5 unit without him? I think Aaron Rodgers makes this team still good enough to be able to contend. It's just going to be a matter of getting some wide receivers for Rodgers to throw to. I believe the Packers are going to do something, whether it's drafting a wide receiver this year, whether it's signing a free agent, because there still are a few pretty solid ones out there. Obviously, you're not going to be able to replace Davante Adams' production with just one guy. You're going to need to bring in a couple of really good guys to at least alleviate the hurt that's going to leave in your offense. But having the MVP at quarterback, the back-to-back MVP at that, I still think this keeps them in at least the top 5 consideration. Maybe they could be number 6, but I guess you guys let me know in the comment section down below, who would you put above the Packers if you don't think they believe if you think they shouldn't be in the top 5? I don't know. I like them at 5. You still have Aaron Jones. You still got A.J. Dillon. Randall Cobb is there, and I mean, that's obviously not saying a lot because, you know, Randall Cobb is aging, but it's somebody that Aaron Rodgers likes and trusts and is willing to go to. They brought back Robert Tonyan, which is a good thing. He had a really good season just a couple of years ago. Obviously, this past year, not as good, dealing with injuries, kind of shortened and limited his production. But overall, offense is still pretty much put together. It's just a matter of finding some receivers. And I think availability-wise, I'm assuming the Packers probably within this next week are going to bring someone in if they have not already by the time you guys are seeing this. But I wouldn't be too shocked if they sign someone and then end up drafting someone to try to alleviate the loss of Adams, because there's no way that you can trust, because I know they're trying to bring back Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and while he's a solid guy, I don't think he is the guy. Alan Lazard, again, not the guy. Amari Rodgers, I guess we'll get to see more from him depending on how this depth chart of wide receivers shakes out, but ultimately, I think Rodgers, the running game, Matt LaFleur, keeps this offense within the top 5. At number 4, and I know this one, because they fizzled out, you might argue probably not, but I think that maybe there's some underlying issues that can be resolved this offseason. I don't know, but where it stands right now on paper, I do still like them at the number 4 spot, but I'm not married to the idea of them, and quite honestly, if somebody put them outside the top 5, I would not sit there and argue with you about it too much, but ultimately, I do still like what this team can do on offense, and I have the Arizona Cardinals here at number 4. They still have Kyler Murray. They were one of the best scoring percentage teams in the NFC at number 2, 44.7%, nearly 50% of their offensive drives went into the end zone there, 26.4 points a game, and they were very good at not turning the ball over. James Conner was an absolute beast for them. What did he have? 18, 19 total touchdowns on the season. I mean, there's still a lot to like about here. DeAndre Hopkins obviously dealt with the injury. As long as they can smooth over their issues, Hopkins can come back and return to form. Rondale Moore gets to step up and do his thing. They obviously lost Christian Kirk and Chase Edmonds, so a couple of losses there that hurt your offense. But again, I think James Conner kind of cancels that out, and I'm assuming the Cardinals are expecting Rondale Moore to be able to pick up the slack where they're losing with Christian Kirk. This is more of an assumption of everything is going well by the time week 1 kicks off for this team, barring any wild, unforeseen circumstance where maybe Kyler Murray's not playing for them or just, things are hitting the fan and it's not going well. On paper, I like the way they look. I'm expecting Rondale Moore to take a significant step forward now that he is going to be the legitimate number 2 guy behind Hopkins. We'll have to see how things happen, but I do like the Cardinals at number 4. Next up in the group, and Cowboys fans, please don't yell at me, but I have the Cowboys here, sitting at number 3, mainly because I am concerned with the loss of Amari Cooper. Yes, Michael Gallup is a very talented receiver, and I have liked Michael Gallup for a few years now, and I have thought, this is a legit number 2, a guy who could potentially even be a number 1, but he doesn't even have to be a number 1 because obviously CeeDee Lamb is there. But still, defenses had to account for Amari Cooper, regardless of what his production looked like because of how good of a wide receiver he is. So I'm expecting this offense to potentially take a little bit of a step back. They also lost Cedric Wilson, and while he's not a massive name in the offense, he was still a fairly productive wide receiver and did the dirty work, I would say, for the offense. You're also losing La'el Collins. So there's going to be some losses, and you're going to notice it a bit, in my opinion, for this team. However, they did sign James Washington. He's shown talent, just didn't really get the looks and the opportunity, I would say, in Pittsburgh to really stand out. So we'll see how he fares here as I'm assuming he's probably going to play that number 3 role unless there's somebody within the depth chart that the Cowboys really like. But I'm assuming James Washington kind of slots into that number 3 spot. You obviously still have the ground game. Marcus Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott, 2 talented running backs, and I've seen some people try to argue that Pollard should probably start over Ezekiel Elliott. That is a conversation for another day. But I still think that they're a top 5 offense, and I like them at 3, so I'd even say top 3. They still, this is a group that still averaged 31 points a game last year, despite Amari Cooper not being as productive, 407 yards a game. So there's a lot to like about them. My biggest issue and why I only have them at 3 probably boils down to penalties. In the NFC, this is the most penalized team, 16th. They average about 7.5 penalties per game. That is a ludicrous number. The Cowboys lost in the playoffs in part to the penalties that they could not stop forcing on themselves. And quite honestly, I would say that the Cowboys' record might even be a little bit better had they, I don't know. Mike McCarthy needs to rein in his team, get it together, because on both sides, it's not even just the offense, the defense too at times. Commit way too many penalties. That's got to be their biggest focus going into this year is let's figure out how to not shoot ourselves in the foot, because there's a lot of talent on this roster, and arguably I would have been willing to maybe even put them a little bit higher if they weren't a team that, again, the worst in the NFC, loves to shoot themselves in the foot. At number 2, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They bring back Chris Godwin. They still have Mike Evans. The signing of Russell Gage, I really like. I think that's a low-key signing that's going to pay dividends for them. Maybe not quite Antonio Brown, but Gage is still a fairly talented wide receiver, and he only has to fill that number 3 role. He's not like a number 1 or a number 2 guy, so I think it'll work out really well for him over there in Tampa Bay, so long as him and Brady can get a connection together. Obviously, as I just mentioned, Brady is back, so that's a really good thing. I do have some concerns about the team, though. Rob Gronkowski is still a free agent. I think he's probably coming back to Tampa Bay. I don't see why he would want to go anywhere else. I know there were rumors about him maybe going to Buffalo because he's a Buffalo guy, but why would he want to leave Tampa Bay and Brady throwing him the football and the nice weather and all that stuff? Wouldn't really make sense to me. Obviously, the offensive line, they lost Ali Marpet to retirement. They lost Alex Kappa to free agency. Then they got Shaq Mason in a trade from the Patriots, so that kind of alleviates the loss of Ali Marpet. Whether you think Marpet and Mason are interchangeable or not, I guess is up for discussion. That just depends on the person you're talking to. But ultimately speaking, I mean, this is one of the best offenses from last season. Rolling into this next season, you got the majority of the group back. The running back situation will probably be one of the bigger question marks if they're able to bring back Leonard Fournette or Ronald Jones or both, if that's a possibility. I don't know. They're both still sitting out on free agency at the time of me recording this. But, I mean, if Brady's still there, you still have top-end wide receivers. I assume Gronk is going to be back there. And ultimately, you lose Alex Kappa, and Ali Marpet is negated by Shaq Mason, who is still one of the better right guards in the NFL, and I'm surprised that, the Buccaneers got him for what they did. I like the unit. I don't see why they shouldn't be number 2. Then coming in at number 1, the defending Super Bowl champions, I have the LA Rams. They lost Odell Beckham, or I don't want to say they lost Odell Beckham. There's maybe a potential he comes back. Maybe. But they signed Allen Robinson to a big money deal. I don't know if Odell Beckham is going to be willing to take another prove-it deal coming off his injury. He definitely did earn himself some money from LA if he goes back to LA because he clearly fit in that system really well. And him and Matthew Stafford had a pretty good connection, I would say, especially later into the season. If he doesn't go down in that Super Bowl, I really think that that the Bengals are not able to keep up and the Rams potentially run away with that Super Bowl because, I mean, the 2 catches that Odell Beckham had were pretty significant ones at that. One being a touchdown, one was a massive chunk yard gain. Something tells me that offense would have looked vastly different going through that game if the Bengals had to defend both Odell and Cooper Kupp throughout the entirety of that game. But you lose Austin Corbett. Odell Beckham's a free agent. Sony Michel's still a free agent. There are some people you need to be worried about. Obviously, the Allen Robinson signing kind of, relieves the loss of Odell per se, but now that Woods is gone, I think that opens up a potential for Odell to come back. The Rams signed Odell last year because they wanted to have that 3-headed monster playing at wide receiver because they wanted Odell, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. Now, I mean, you might as well just try to see if you can get Odell back, and instead of Woods, you just insert Allen Robinson, who honestly brings a little bit more of a dynamic to the offense anyways because he is the big man, go up and get the contested catch, jump ball kind of guy. So, I mean, you have Cooper Kupp, who is the elite route runner, short hands. Odell Beckham is like the playmaking, uber talented guy. And Robinson is your big man who is going to go up just about over any defensive back in the NFL and come down with the ball if he needs to. My goodness, would that offense be scary? And I mean, the Rams got $16 million in cap space right now to work with. Go sign Odell Beckham if you can. That's a lot of money to still work with. I know that they have some, positions that need to be filled, but Odell Beckham would not be a bad signing for the Rams, but ultimately I really like the way they're built. Offensive line's still really good. They did lose Whitworth this past, offseason to retirement, so we'll have to see how that goes too, but I like what they have going on there. Sean McVay is a mastermind on the offensive side of the football, even though sometimes I feel like he does get off the gas a little bit too much, and it really scares me at times, and it scared me a lot during the Super Bowl. I like the Rams. I like them at number 1. That is my top 5 offenses for the NFC. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.